and welcome to my Booker Longlist review, part 3. It's Booker season, baby. Booker season, baby. It's Booker season, baby.
It's Booker season, baby. It's Booker season, baby.
Today I'm going to be talking about my final 2 books from the Booker Longlist. That's right, I've done it. Ho ho! It's done! It's done! It's done! The year of mid is done. So let's not hang about, let's get cracking, and let's start with Creation Lake. The novel centres around Sadie Smith, a 34-year-old American secret agent. She's known for her ruthless tactics, bold opinions, and striking beauty. Sadie is sent to France to carry out some covert operations. She needs to infiltrate a rural commune full of French subversives. Sadie Smith is of course not her real name, it's an alias that she gives to everybody that she meets, including us, the reader. She initiates a relationship with Lucien, a well-born Parisian. Lucien, like the others that Sadie meets, is manipulated for her own personal gain. Initially, Sadie is just asked to cause kind of provocation between the group. However, as the novel progresses, her mission starts to ask much more of her. And while all this is happening, Sadie is becoming slowly obsessed with this guy called Bruno, who is communicating with the group of activists, but only via email. So she is reading all these emails that he is sending the group, and she is slowly becoming obsessed with them. Bruno is advocating for an escape from the modern world, an escape to the past where things were different, where people lived in much smaller communities and travelled around more. And Sadie becomes slowly obsessed with his emails as she learns more about the history of the world, but also about Bruno's own tragic story. And I'm just going to add right in now, if you don't like Neanderthals, if you don't like hearing about Neanderthals all the time, lots of information about Neanderthals, do you want Wikipedia pages worth of info on the Neanderthals? Then boom, you're in luck. This is the novel for you. If you don't like that, this is not the novel for you. Sadie is also a very interesting character because she is a dickhead. She is awful. Absolutely awful. Even when she's doing stupid mistakes and she's telling us about previous instances of cases she was on, missions she was on, she's painting herself out to be an expert. She believes in her own head that she controls everything she surveys, and she is slightly getting manipulated by Bruno's emails, but she believes she is constantly in control and that she is, she's the cat's pajamas. She is the absolute best, and this sort of disillusionment and this cynicism that she shows for everybody, oh my god, you are going to hate her. However, there's 2 ways of looking at this novel. There's 2 ways of just despising her cynicism and basically the history lesson that you're getting in the emails and all the facts that are being thrown at you, or you're gonna find humour within her cynicism. And I don't know whether I was supposed to be laughing at a lot of the stuff in this novel, but because she is painted out to be such a dickhead, I found most of the stuff she does, the interactions, just hilarious. I found her cynicism, constant cynicism, an absolute disdain for humanity, just really, really funny. And I don't know, because not a lot of people have been enjoying this novel. A lot of people have been either saying it's very, very mid, or even lower than that and hating it. And I'm not there at all. But I don't know if it's for the right reasons, because I was just laughing my arse off at this novel. I thought it was going to be like this serious spy thing, and it really isn't. I don't know, it's so stupid and like structurally all over the place. But I'll get into that, into my pros and cons. But I did want to add in there that, yeah, Sadie is not a nice character. She is awful, but she is deliberately written so. She has to have been. There is no way that Rachel Kushner could be writing this character and thinking she has any redeeming qualities. She is out and out awful, my lord. I've seen this novel described as sort of like a modern noir kind of thing, and this is where the problems start to arise. What is this novel trying to be? Is it trying to be a thriller, like a spy thriller? If so, it fails spectacularly. Is it trying to be a sort of a piece of literary fiction in which we're just focusing on the character and the sort of details within that? In that instance, it's also failing quite badly. I just don't know. It's not blending quite well. Yeah, but anyway, I'm starting to get onto my pros and cons, so let's go into what did I like and what didn't I like. What I liked. Well, I've already mentioned it, but the kind of sort of cool philosophical musings from the sort of like eccentric Bruno character that take place throughout, I really enjoyed. I enjoyed them. I thought they were fascinating, and I was all in, and I liked learning, and I liked the history lesson, and I liked the talk of the documentaries, and just everything in those sections I really enjoyed. Thoroughly. So yeah, that's a big pro for me. Another pro for me is it's funny. I found it really funny. Why hasn't anyone talked about how funny this is? She's so awful. She's so bleak. She looks at the world through such a horrid lens. And I found that comical. Like, the more the novel continued and the more things she would sort of say and the way she sort of like treated people and she saw the world and how she saw herself is hilarious. So I found it really, really funny. Humor is always really, really tricky in novels. I'm guilty of it before, in which I read an entire novel, not laughed once, and someone's turned around and went, "The whole thing's a comedy. What's wrong with you?" And I've gone back and looked at it, and because I've been able to switch my brain into that mode, I've been able to find the humor in it. So I don't know. I was just able to click into it with this one, and yeah, I found it quite funny. And I thought the writing was solid. It's nothing incredible. It's not going to blow you away, but it's descriptive enough and flows at a really good pace. The pacing is just, it keeps going. Even if it's structurally all over the shop, it's got a really nice pace to it. I flew through this one. And there are standout sections within the writing. The way that kind of Bruno's little mini memoir that takes place within the emails I thought was really effective. So yeah, the writing is solid. And I must admit, for all its hilarity, I did quite enjoy the sort of the cynical lens on modern society and the cynical lens on this commune and activists and just life in general. It's just so cynical. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. That's about it for the likes. So let's move over to what didn't I like. So the first thing I didn't like is just structurally it's all over the shop. It is all over the shop. It's kind of, we spend these vast sections on these emails and then we might cut into a little bit of the narrative, the story being told. Structurally, it jumps around, the timeline jumps around a lot, but never with any kind of like cohesion. It just feels all a bit sort of thrown together, like a mishmash of all these things. It feels like multiple different sort of like novels at the same time. I would have gladly read an entire novel of Bruno's kind of like emails to the commune and her sifting through and sort of figuring her way through the narrative through just the emails alone. Whereas it's not, it's kind of that, and then we've got this other story taking place, the relationship she's building, her off trying to get the job done, and then it builds up towards this stuff at the end, which is a little bit anticlimactic and just a bit like, oh, okay. And we don't really ever get any connection with the people who are forcing her to do what she's doing. We never really understand. Yeah, it's just structurally a bit pants. Now, I'm going to put this next one in my negatives, but I must admit, as said, I don't know if it's all intentional. I don't know if I was supposed to be laughing at it. But, our protagonist, our narrator, Sadie, is a knobhead. She's stupid. She's so stupid and infuriating and just like annoying and everything you don't want in a protagonist for an entirety of a book. You'd want... There's no arc there. There's no change. There's no growth. You might say there's a little bit of growth as she becomes obsessed with the emails and starts learning from them, but not really. The character barely goes on a journey. I can't say anything for spoilers, but all she does is she does a thing and then she's not doing that anymore. Do you know? Really poor character development, and she's a stupid character, and it was. Next thing I didn't quite like is, again, and this is sort of structural, this is sort of like an inconsistency in quality. Like, there's some sections where I'm like, oh, that was really well written and really sort of sharp, and really enjoyed that, and it made me laugh, but it also made me think. And there's other sections that are just feel like this is boring, and like the observations are bland and just, I don't know, it's just inconsistency again. It's just all, yeah. And another thing I didn't quite like is, because of the way this novel is structured and how sort of all over the shop it is, it means that none of the themes are fully explored. It's just, yeah, everything is half-baked. For a couple of examples, let's say you've got a couple of themes like, eco-terrorism and community and society, those type of things. Well, because of the cynicism that's injected into this book, everything gets cut off. Nothing gets an ability to be fully sort of understood by the reader or to be advanced in any way. So just like Sadie as a character, which has no sort of growth and is just annoying and stupid, very, very funny, but annoying and stupid, so are the themes that this novel's exploring. I just left it going, what the hell did I learn? Nothing. Except, of course, the emails and all the history that we get within those. I did learn something from those, but I'm talking about like her and what the novel is truly trying to say. Overall, I find this novel quite tricky to review and put a kind of like rating on, because I I enjoyed my experience with it more because of how much I was laughing at it. And I'm talking about the experience here. I'm not a proper reviewer. I'm just someone who's like read a book and did I have a good time reading it. Um, uh, my experience of reading this book and going through it and sort of like, especially like the emails, the Neanderthal stuff and the history, and there was loads of little things in it that did feel quite idiosyncratic and really, really interesting and really pulled me in. And Sadie as a protagonist, I hated her so much, but I really enjoyed laughing at her. I really enjoyed laughing throughout this book, and actually, nothing on this list really has given me a massive giggle. James doesn't exist in this list as far as I'm concerned. It goes James and everything else. James is absolutely incredible compared to the rest of the stuff on this list. It's insane how big that gap is. But like that's really, really funny, and that's funny in a way that suddenly makes you go, "Ooh, why am I laughing?" This is funny, and I don't know whether I'm laughing at it because it's shite or whether I'm laughing at it because that's what's intended. So I don't know where to put it. So I'm just going to go on my enjoyment factor rather than really looking at the book. I'm going to go 3 stars out of 5. I enjoyed this so much more than so many books on this list. However, I agree it's not good. It's not good, but I'm gonna give it's like a 2.53. I don't know. I'm gonna go good, in comparison to everything else. But it's really tricky. But I don't think I would recommend this to anyone to read, at all. So maybe that's telling. But yeah, I still put this so much higher than other stuff on this list. Next up, we have Playground. 4 characters' lives intersect in this vast panoramic novel. We have Evie, a young girl who experiences an extraordinary moment when she sinks to the bottom of a Montreal pool using the world's first ever aqualung. We have Ina, an artistic soul who grows up on naval bases around the Pacific where art becomes her refuge. We have Rafi and Todd, who are like complete opposites, but who meet at this elite Chicago high school. They bond over board games like Go and chess, whilst also exploring the literature that they both love, and all at the same time Todd is pursuing these sort of groundbreaking advances in AI. We also have Makatea, or I don't know how to pronounce that. Makatea is what I'm going for. I'm probably butchering it. An island in French Polynesia. Makatea is the focal point of a bold new initiative. This idea of sending out these sort of floating cities into the sea. And we keep coming back to Makatea as this sort of like meeting is taking place on whether they're sort of voting on what should happen. The novel is diving into sort of humanity's relationship with the last uncolonized frontier, which is the ocean. It's blending themes of technology, the environment, and human connection. I'm just going to say right now, if you have read Richard Powers' previous work, then you're probably going to have a really good idea of what this novel is like. It's not his strongest of all his work. I would say it is the weakest of all the Richard Powers novels I have read. However, I am a fan of his work, and I think that made this process or made this book a little bit more accessible to me. I sort of knew what I was expecting, and I was able to get on board with the flow and the rhythm of the writing a little bit quicker. I'm not sure this is the book to recommend people to read for their first Richard Powers experience. I think it would put a lot of people off his writing. However, if you have read that previous work, then yeah, it's in there, but it's the weakest of all of his. So what did I like and what didn't I like? What I liked, I really enjoyed the themes that this novel is exploring. The kind of ideas around AI and technology, but also sort of like the humanity at the core of the story, along with this kind of like the idea of the environment and what should and shouldn't be done concerning the effects on the environment. Pretty standard Richard Powers affair right there. But I really enjoyed that, and I thought the themes in the novel were blended extremely well. As always, I really enjoyed Richard Powers' writing style. It's very poetic, but also stylistically kind of finely tuned, and the pacing of the writing is always excellent as well. I really enjoyed the critiques in this novel of modern society, our sort of wariness of overpowered AI and what it could do to communities, and that sort of balance between what we should embrace and what we shouldn't embrace, and sort of the same when it comes to the environment, what we should be allowing to better mankind. There's a lot going on there in that sort of area, and I just sort of really enjoyed exploring that, thinking about that. As always with his work, It gives me lots of opportunities to just put the book down and have a little bit of think about the kind of dilemmas that are faced to characters, but also what are being posed or put upon us. I thought the structuring of this novel was solid all the way through, the way it sort of flips back and forth, and the way we sort of just suddenly cut in with new characters, and the way it builds, and the sort of like the passage of time. Yeah, I just thought narratively it's really focused and it's really solid, and once you sort of warm into it, you get into it a little bit, you quickly get on board. Yeah, just thought structurally it worked really well. What didn't I like? It's very heavy-handed. Now, I don't know if I've just blanked that out of the previous Richard Powers novels I've read, but it feels really heavy-handed in the sort of like the messages that it's trying to convey, to the point where, I don't know, maybe I've changed as a reader since I've read his previous work, but reading this, I was just like, calm it down a bit. It's really, really thrown in your face. And yeah, it just didn't gel with me as much this time round. Another thing I didn't like is I was so emotionally distanced from the characters. I didn't emotionally connect to anyone in this novel at all, really. And I don't know, that's not necessarily a really bad thing, but it's just something that I just went, I don't know. I found the characters, like, they were detailed enough and brought to light enough and were interesting enough to really keep me reading. I read this one quite quickly too, and it's quite big, so that says something. But I was just so emotionally distanced from the characters. I wasn't really able to connect with them, and yeah, ultimately that's always a bit of a bummer. I think the way Rafi is brought to life is very questionable as a character, and quite cringeworthy in moments, which really brought me out of the book. I don't know how anyone could read this book and not feel like there's some really, just the way he was painted as a man of colour, and the language that was used and how Richard Powers thought that, it just didn't feel real. But that's it for my dislikes. So again, it is another novel on the Booker Longlist that I am completely sort of conflicted by. There's lots of things in this novel for you to enjoy. There's lots of things that it's saying that I think are really important and really interesting things, especially the exploration of sort of like the AI stuff and that kind of, which feels more prevalent now more than ever, with things like Chat GPT and all that stuff popping up. I think, yeah, I've really enjoyed those aspects about it. I really enjoyed the structuring, and I really enjoyed the writing style and the way it flowed. Those are all big pros for me. But, you know, the really important things like, you know, like the message was too heavy-handed, which put me off a little bit. And the characters were just really badly brought to life, especially Rafi, which was a massive disappointment, somewhat of a shame. So, yeah, again, I'm landing on a 3. It's a 3-star. It's a 3-star out of 5. I have changed my opinion on some of these novels on the long list, has changed as I've allowed time to sort of go by. My Friends has, as after reading this entire long list, My Friends has absolutely rocketed right up. I'm still thinking about that novel now, whereas I'm not thinking about other novels, and that makes me realise I was way too harsh on the review I gave it and the sort of out of 5 I gave it. But I'm allowed to change my opinion because that's what happens when you let things rest. So, you know, and the same with this novel. You know, I've only just finished it and I'm reviewing it, which might not be the best policy. Maybe I should have waited, but I just don't have time to do that. So, yeah, I'm going to go, 3 stars out of 5 for Playground. By no means the worst on this list. It's quite middling. I have to have a little bit of a think of whether it will make my, you know, the top, because everything is at the same place. Everything is on the same sort of rating for me. So it's just on what sticks with me the most, on what sort of makes my final 6, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, that's it. I'm just going to leave that there. I am done. That is the Booker long list. All of the books done. There is one winner, and that's James. I'm really fearful that it might not get it. It has to. Compared to what's in here, it's just, you know, it should be an inevitability that he's going to win, but who knows. But yeah, so James is the best novel, and next up after is Safekeep. But anyway, I'm going to do a video with my ranking, going back to what I did before I started reading the list. Anyway, I hope you're well. Sorry, this is rambling. I hope you're good. I hope you're enjoying whatever you might be reading. If you have read either of these books, let me know, what did you think about them? Did you love them? Did you hate them? And yeah, I'll have a little chat with you in the comments if I have the time. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.